Roll. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. This very body is soil. My body, your body, everybody is just soil body.
I never seen a video like this. I never seen a video like this.
The magic of soil turns death into life.
Let's make it happen. And we can make it happen. Let's be a
Wait, aren't you gonna come?
Save soil for our future generations and our children. Save soil, let's make it happen. हम किसानों के बच्चे हैं। मिट्टी को बचाना बहुत जरूरी है। Let's save soil. Let's make it happen.
Save soil.
We must save our soil. Our generation has been responsible for depleting the organic content of the soil. It is our responsibility to bring that organic content back. Let's make it happen for our children. Let's do it. Save the soil. Mitti bachao, save our soil. Let's bachao.
Good evening, my green buddies. So in the next 8.5 minutes that I am left with, I will try to create some more awareness of what these rock stars were trying to talk to you about. And I will use some facts, some science, and some stories and prescriptions for some of us to follow up on and try and face our generational responsibility, if I may say, that we have to our future generations, because our soil is dying. Do you know that 95% of our food, directly or indirectly, comes from the soil? My meat eater friends, guess what the cattle eat, livestock feed, and that comes from the soil. So the health of the soil is very important for the health of us as a species. But 52% of the soil has already degraded. I'm talking of the agricultural soil. We're losing 1 football field per second. Research says by 2045, there will be 9.2 billion of us on the planet, and there'll be 40% lesser food available. And that is when the guys with the biggest guns will take it all. This is not the future that we want for our children. The present itself is showing its signs. The developed countries are talking about climate change, global warming, and whatnot. It's the underdeveloped and the developing countries which are going through floods, droughts, landslides, unpredictable rain and snow patterns. And this is all being done in the name of industrialization, survival, or growth. The growth that is coupled with the degradation of the soil leads to people moving from rural settings into urban settings. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about just Singapore here. This is the world problem. So people move from rural settings into urban settings. They get into the cities, causing unrest. Now, this is a typical perfect storm that we have created around the world. And the United Nations does get together every year. In 22, they got on at COP27, and then they declared that they have a solution which is scalable, which is permanent, and which is long term. And they call it the health of soil. And the solution is right under our feet. Now, you guys must be thinking, what am I talking about? There's a major difference between dirt and soil. What you see on the left is dirt. When there is no organic content or very little organic content in dirt, in soil, it becomes dirt. And that's what desertification is all about. So a healthy soil must have 3 to 6% organic content in it. Let me take it further. A handful of healthy soil has 8 billion living organisms in it. We take the whole planet. We are 8 billion of us on the whole planet. The healthy soil is one of the largest carbon sinks. Remember the climate change we were talking of? The healthy soil is one of the largest carbon sinks because it has the capability of sequestering carbon. The sequestered carbon goes back into the soil, into the earth. It's used by the plants to grow, and it helps in basically reducing the carbon in the atmosphere. The healthy soil is also the largest water reservoir. We had someone here who was talking to me about a water problem. The healthy soil is permeable, so when water falls on it, it soaks in and stays there for the plants to use it as and when required. The flash floods in Singapore happened because Singapore is turning concrete and there was no place for the water that was falling on it to get soaked. I never know of any floods that used to happen in the olden times of Singapore when the soil was healthy and fresh. The healthy soil is also responsible for the nutrients and better yields. So when there will be better yields in the farms, probably a son of a farmer in the outer world would want to become a farmer. Right now, that's not the case. So in the outer world, as I say, places outside of Singapore and the developed countries, the farmers have moved on to regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is about rotating the crops, about putting the cash crops one after another, about having a cover crop, about no-till farming. Have you ever heard of no-till farming? But that was the way farming was actually supposed to be done. Now, before I get into anything else, us in Singapore, we are pretty much away from what is happening in the farms. And we think to ourselves, what is this guy talking about? Yes, we are away from these farms because our food comes from supermarkets. The global warming is as good or as bad as the temperature on the remote control that we have for the air conditioners. So we are pretty distant from these issues that we have. But one thing that is common amongst these suffering people, suffering countries, and us, my friends, is a lot of us will be gone from this planet in the next 30 to 40 years. Left will be this younger generation, and they would be thinking that what were we as a generation thinking at this point of time? So there is a social responsibility that we have. Now, there are ways of doing it. I'll come back to the Singapore context of it. While the governments are looking at ecological problems, we have to look at civic issues. We have to start reducing the amount of usage that we have for things. A loaded NTUC trolley should have lesser food when we come down to our homes. There is no more food to waste. There is no more food to waste. We have to love food and not waste it. We have to move to better or healthier choices for the planet. Now, I will not get into the vegan versus the vegetarians versus the meat eaters debate because that's a very sensitive one. But I have one fact for you. To produce 1 calorie of red meat, you need 7 to 8 calories of livestock feed. Now that's a lot of load we put on the planet to get rare, tender, or well-done steaks. We can get into the composting part of it. I mean, there will be stalls here which are talking about composting, and this is something that even in urban settings we can do. I have a composting bin kept at my house, and I recycle the wet food and put in the dry food into it, and we use it for composting. Now, reduce, reuse, recycle is something that we've heard a lot. Refuse the use of Plastics. This is the July month. Refuse the use of plastic. Rot. Rot is the composting part of it. So I've just added 2 more hours into this. And rethink before you use and throw away your things. As a collective, we can all get back behind this movement. There's a QR code. If you click onto that, it'll take you to a page. You can become an Earth Buddy there. At that website, www.safesoil.org, you will be able to get a lot more information about the Safe Soil movement. As and when you get more acquainted with it, please share these nuggets with more and more people because it's required. Now, I will just touch base on how my journey on this started here, and this has stopped working for some reason. No, it is working. So how my journey started in this Safe Soil movement. It was beginning of COVID. I was sitting in my daughter's room. Thanks guys for supporting me here. I was sitting in her room watching Sir David Attenborough's serial on the life on the planet. And he talks about how we as a generation have
How many times have I heard this story?
have spoiled the planet and have gone into a situation where we've got nothing left. Thank you. We've got nothing left for our future generations. And while I was watching it, I was realizing to myself, what have we done to our planet? And all of a sudden, the door opens and my daughter walks in. I see tears in my eyes. And that was when it started for me. It has to touch your hearts. It has to start from somewhere. Every change begins from an individual. Don't wait for someone else to make the change.
I am
Be the
the
change.
individual.
Be the change that you want to be. And in the close, well, this is my journey. I mean, this is not the same day, by the way. This is every weekend. So I've stopped wearing, other clothes over the weekends. I just wear this dress, this T-shirt. Thanks, guys, for supporting me in what you're doing. I did get a chance to speak about this at the Stanford University. That's a brag that I want to do right now. Thanks, Christina. Christina is my peer at the Stanford. Thanks, Christina, for that. But it was great. We got a chance to present ourselves. And in the close, gentlemen and ladies and children and everybody around, I'd just like to say that we've extracted enough from our planet. We have extracted enough from our planet. It is time for us to give back. Think about it, because the planet is not a legacy that we got from our parents. It's something that we borrowed from an unborn child. And the solution is right under our feet. And I would say, it's in your hands. Pass it around. Thank you. And promise me you will save soil.
Thank you so much, Vishal. Also, a reminder, guys, QR codes, please do vote.